So, welcome. It's the LawyerFair Daily Podcast. My name's Andrew Weaver, the CEO at LawyerFair, and I have today come out west. I have removed myself from my little office by the river in Battersea and come out to Perivale, which, if you haven't been to Perivale in the past, I can tell you it is one of the greener areas of London. There is the Perivale Park Nature Reserve, which is very close to where I am today. And also, what I noticed on my map was Paradise Fields. We are very close to Paradise Fields. So if you want a bit of green, and you're living in the city, then you can do a lot worse than come out to Perivale. And green is an interesting connection. A nice segue, because I'm joined by Toby Robins, who is I've got to get this right, Toby, Sustainable
Development
Director at Wiles Greenworld. Toby, I'm sorry to stumble on that, but welcome and thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
As you probably know, we've had a good old natter, Toby and I, already, and those of you who do occasionally listen to the podcast, we do try and cover quite a range of things, not necessarily just legal services. And when I was provided with the opportunity of coming to see and speak to Toby, I was very, very excited because you only have to visit the Wiles Greenwood website to see just how integrated their green sustainable policy is and includes, and I want to just tap into this shortly actually, a relationship with Eden Project, which I'm actually a supporter of, being from Cornwall, etc. But Toby, welcome again and thank you for joining us. Are there some kind of key takeaway points, bearing in mind that we have business owners listening to this, that you'd like to kind of get across in this conversation?
I would certainly like to take the opportunity to encourage people to embed sustainability within their businesses and to recognise that that is the direction of travel. If you are running a business which is fails to look and plan ahead, then clearly you are creating risk. And so the short-termism of the city and financial returns and things like that actually creates threats to the business. Sustainability is the direction of travel. It has to be, and increasingly legislation will push people in that direction. It is far better to look ahead, see what's coming, plan that into your business, and therefore make it into a positive rather than something you're reacting to.
I mean, I'm going to use a cliche here, but you really do walk the walk with this, Toby, don't you? Because your background was, when you set up Greenwoods, was it in '89 as a sustainable company right from the beginning?
Yeah, as you say, back in 1989, I set up Greenworld, and very definitely on green values as a deep green company. That was ahead of the game, but that has provided all sorts of benefits. You can imagine that those people who did business with me then, frankly, are still doing business with me now, because it was a values-based proposition. This is a matter of shared values, and therefore those clients that I engaged with then, happily are still clients today.
Well, value-based proposition, that's probably a tangent conversation here, Dave, because I went to a book launch last week actually by a couple of chaps called Michael Heyman and Nick Giles, and they released a book called Mission, and the book was all about companies that have value and a mission to what they're doing. It's not just about profit, and clearly from the very beginning that was part of your ethos. And so just in terms of the implementation of sustainability within the company now, I mean, just give me some examples of how you actually do follow through on this.
You are right where you say that it is, that we walk the walk. It is absolutely who we are, and that requires engagement with employees. That it requires everybody to actually understand what the company's values are. In terms of engaging with sustainability more broadly, that requires education. So every person joining the company has a half-day induction with me, half a day purely on green stuff, which starts with testing their understanding of climate change. We do that by watching things like An Inconvenient Truth, the Al Gore film, to actually give an understanding of what we are actually doing to the planet. We then move on to what we as a company are doing about that, and then what is expected of them as an individual within the company. So that very much sets the scene when they come on board, when they join the company, as to who we are and what will be expected of them. That's then re-emphasised and grows every month, because every departmental monthly meeting has a green section in it. And within that green section, we could be talking about things which are nothing to do with the business we're actually in. it's things like, you've heard about fracking. What do you actually understand by it? Or the vanishing of the bees? It's getting people to actually realise that there is a bigger picture out there, and recognise that the way we actually operate takes account of that. Therefore, making us an employer of choice, making it a great place to work, frankly.
I saw an award coming up the stairs. I think was it second greenest company in the country?
Plenty of awards.
Yeah.
Awards are great because I can tell the staff that we're doing a great job as often as I like, but the moment you get somebody from outside coming in saying, no, you really are, it means so much more. The award you saw was the one I think we're probably most proud of, which was the Sunday Times described us as the second greenest company in the UK. So that's ahead of the Co-op, that's ahead of Marks and Spencer's, that's ahead of B&Q. It was a massive accolade. And what I particularly loved about that was that 70% of the marks were awarded for quantified data. We absolutely had to have reduced energy consumption and water consumption, things like that. And then 30% of the marks were following a questionnaire which is sent out to all staff to actually frankly find out whether or not I'm just sitting in an ivory tower knowing all the answers and having a bit of marketing skill, or whether the company really is walking the walk, as we said earlier. So very, very satisfying indeed to have the Sunday Times recognise us in that way.
Well, it's a huge tribute to the work you've done and obviously the ethos that you brought through from day one.
Thank you.
In '89.
There's a further benefit from it though, in terms of those awards, because it's not just a matter of engaging employees from it, the amount of business we have won as a result, because clearly anybody out there who has green credentials themselves or is interested in green credentials, this validates our position. This says that we really are walking the walk, that we're not just making claims because you're asking if we're green. We really are.
Well, it's a really interesting reaction to you winning that award, and positive reaction, because the modern consumer now is far more promiscuous, far more expecting of their brands, and it's why some of the kind of monolithic American brands are going through some really big tough times, McDonald's being the most obvious, and I don't have anything against them, but I think the consumers now are really demanding and have an expectation that the companies and the people that they deal with are green, are using sustainable technology, etc. So it's brilliant to hear that you've got a kind of literally a spike of activity following that award,
which goes on and on and on. There is no reason not to carry on with that philosophy. It demonstrates that the values we have value to the business in terms of securing our future, and it just makes business sense.
It absolutely does, and Toby, I'm thrilled that you've had that response, and I'm thrilled also that you've joined me today, because we do and are trying to make these podcasts as varied and as broad as possible. So it's a subject that we haven't covered, and it couldn't have been covered by anyone better, frankly. Is there anything, bearing in mind that all businesses are, and some businesses maybe aren't as sophisticated and as developed as you in their understanding of what's required, is there any kind of takeaway information or website you think someone should have a look at that is interested in adopting more green policies in their business?
I'm not sure I'd steer anyone towards a particular website. What I think I would say is that you have to take it seriously. You need to lead from the top. There is no point still turning up to work in your Ferrari and telling everybody else that they've got to switch the lights off. You need to live it and breathe it yourself, lead by example. You cannot expect people to be engaged. It lacks integrity if you don't take it seriously yourself, and frankly it makes sense to take it seriously yourself.
Toby, on that fine note, thank you again. That was the LawyerFair Daily Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.